Hey everybody, Sandman here. This is actually a PSA, a legitimate public service announcement, which is really weird. I don't do this often. I do these things, but in a different way. Typically, manufacturers will send me product for review in anticipation for the product to be released. So I will usually try to create a decent timing to notify all of you of that product. For instance, Moki sent me his jackknife tool. I think I did a review of it on a Sunday. They released Monday and they sold out within 2 days. And it takes them several months to be able to get those back in stock. So I try to always keep you guys up to date. I don't really have product to review for you for this, but I do want to let you all know, since everybody's asking all the time, Jimy Longs is going to have product this Friday afternoon, November 8th. And he believes that he has enough product that he initially thought that it might last 6 months. Then we talked a little bit and he goes, okay, he goes, maybe, I could see me selling out maybe in a month or 2 months, because he has a lot of product. I'm gonna be honest, I've been collecting for 18 years now. I don't think the product is going to last a month. I think the product is going to last 1 week. That's my prediction. Jimy has ordered 1,000 of each set that will be available. I don't know how many sets it is total, but it's like 15 to 20 or 25,000 pieces or something crazy. I don't know. Maybe that's an absurd number, but thousands upon thousands of pieces. And let me just give you some backstory. Jimy put in an order with this really great manufacturer, and the products are amazing. I have the prototypes here. I'm going to show you guys the prototype compared to the original product. But Jimy put in this order sometime back in June, and they had told him that he would have a window of about 10 to 12 weeks turnaround time from the time he placed an order to the time that he would be receiving the product. That turned into 5-6 months. I mean, it went crazy. Like July, August, September, October, we're now in November, so 5 months. And he's still waiting on either he's waiting to receive 15,000 picks, or he still needs more time to organize them. So lessons were learned with that, and I hope Jimy doesn't mind that I speak on his behalf in this particular instance, but if you're ever going to get a manufacturer to produce product for you and they give you a verbal agreement that, hey, we'll provide all these products within 10 to 12 weeks, make sure you also get that in writing. So getting agreements made on a turnaround time was a learning lesson for this particular manufacturer, Jimy Longs being the manufacturer here, even though now he's outsourcing for mass production. So that's one thing. So when there is a mass production run number 2, it will go a lot more smoothly, because Jimy's a very smart guy, and he, for all I know, he may have to find a secondary source for mass production to keep up with the demand, because the demand is very high. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is, let's talk about quality real quick on the tools. So those of you, because we get new lockpickers every year in Locksport, and welcome to Locksport. It's a really fun hobby. And thank you for watching my channel. It's all diatribe. I don't know why you're here. But Jimy, let me just talk about Jimy real quick. Jimy has been in Locksport. He's been picking locks since he was like 8 or 10 years old. He learned how to pick locks at church. And he had a member of his church teach him how to pick a lock, his first lock, when he was like 8 years old. And I think he's close to my age, but I don't think he's as old as me. I'm 40 years old. I think he's a little bit younger. I think he's in his 30s. But so Jimy's been picking locks pretty much his entire life, and he has been active in Locksport, oh man, going back more than 10 years. Like, I have personally known Jimy since 2015 through Instagram. And, but he has been active, going to DEF CON, going to different, like SaintCon, and being a part of Lockpick Village. And I think he was actually a member of Tool US at some point, in the height of Tool US. So Jimy has been a part of Locksport community for 10 to 15 years that I'm aware of, and he knows all of the players and all the people. Jimy's a very intelligent human being. He's probably the smartest person that I know. And I don't, I know a lot of pretty incredible people. There's a lot of pretty awesome people in this community. Jimmy is amazing. Like, he's just super smart. And I don't want to say what he does and who he works for, but he works in some type of, threat management, cybersecurity. Yet. I didn't have my first computer. I was 25. Okay, so I don't know what he does for a living. I could make it up, but he's basically the plague from the movie Hackers. We'll just pretend that that's a thing. All the computer geeks and all you IT nerds are like screaming at me, Hackers isn't real, screw you. All right, the movie's as real as I want it to be. Anyways, he's the plague from the Hackers, and he's like some big shot with some corporate company. He's very intelligent, and he loves Locksport so much that he, I shit you not, invested over $100,000 in manufacturing equipment to put in his garage so he could just research and develop the tools of his dreams. That's just what he wanted. And he wanted to create product to be able to give to his friends and maybe sell a couple sets here and there. And the development of creating this product, which wasn't intended to be a product at all, to my understanding, not only did he work with Christina Palmer, who's a very close friend of his, and she has consulted with over 2/3 of the industry at large. And she has helped redefine what lockpicks should be. And she has helped redesign a vast majority of the lockpicks from Multipick, Covert Instruments. There's influence of her design in Law Lock Tools, Moki, Bare Bones, all of the top manufacturers, Peterson, Sparrows, just to name a few, Southern Specialties, are all influenced in some way by Christina Palmer's work. Jimy worked very closely, and he didn't just take like a consultation from Christina. They redefined what a lockpick could be or should be. And what I'm saying is they redesigned the shank. It's a very unusual shank. It has a large taper here at the base of the shank as it meets the handle. First off, they're using 301 high yield stainless steel, which is the strongest tool steel available on the market for lockpicks. Secondly, they redesigned the shank as, to my understanding, they're using finite element analysis. Did I say that correctly? And they were able to use the tool or put it under some type of scope or imaging that when they applied stress to the pick, they were able to detect where the stress points are in the shank based off of the heat signature of the pick as it was being stressed. And they found that it was closer to the shank here, which makes sense. And so that's why they whitened it at the shank. Moki has done something similar, and I don't know how much inspiration Moki took from those studies, but this is new. This is a big deal. Case in point, if we were to look at Multipick, if we look at Multipick is very thin. I don't have a problem with Multipick bending or breaking. I've never broken or bent a Multipick tool ever. I think I may have slightly deformed a Multipick flat hook in the pursuit of picking my Primus lock for brown belt, Schlegg Primus, but that's because I probably put 20 hours in on that pick and I was using a lot of leverage and it still held up. But Jimy Longs, being the genius and overthinker that he is, overbuilt these tools. That's one thing. The other thing is he wanted something that was comfortable, that was precise and gave good feedback, but yet he wanted it to be He wanted it to be ergonomic and comfortable. So he went with a scalpel design, a surgeon's scalpel design. And I'm not a freaking surgeon, but my guess is I'm just going to have to go off of that. Apparently, the grooving here is very similar to a surgeon's scalpel. The other thing that he did was he wanted injection molded handles, and these have a certain percentage of fiberglass mixed in with the other properties, which I think is probably just a plastic. But it has something to do with the rigidity of these. So you can't bend these. I mean, you'd have to really go out of your way to bend these. So that way, any feedback that's transferred from the profile does go directly into the hand. Furthermore, I have his older, this is version 2 or version 3, I think version 3. These are like 1/3 of a shank. So the shank only goes into right about here overall. It's about 1/3, 30% shank. The new versions, this is version 4. The new versions, I think it's 4. The new versions, the shank goes all the way through, and he leaves a hole here specifically for you to be able to see that this is a full shank lockpick. The belief in that is over the last 20 years that the old school lockpickers from back in my day, 15 plus years ago, believed that full tang lockpicks, I'm having trouble talking, health issues. Full tang lockpicks will provide better feedback overall compared to a partial tang. And a partial tang lockpick, for instance, like this Peterson lockpick, this guy literally uses 10% of a shank, and it's all just for about saving money, I would suspect, in my opinion. And there's going to be other companies that we will see that are going to utilize similar techniques. However, I have interviewed the top 10 lockpickers in the whole world, and they're on Discord and Reddit. And I asked them, I said, does this bother you? And they're like, no, I don't feel the feedback necessarily in my hand. I feel the feedback in the finger that supports the shank, and I feel the feedback in my tensioning finger. However, Jimy, being of an old school mindset and wanting to be able, because more is not less here, like less. Jimy knew that you can't go wrong by adding a full shank, essentially. There's no drawbacks to adding a full shank, except to the manufacturer, because they spend more money in tooling, or excuse me, materials. Jimy could save money by not including this much material. I mean, it's almost the length. I mean, he's basically giving you twice the amount of material here, just to be able to fit the need of the people that feel that full shank lockpicks will give you more feedback. Like, this is good. This is a good thing. At the same time, I don't want to say that full shank is needed. You don't need full shank, but I think it's great that a manufacturer is offering full shank. It's kind of like the opinion on knives. Do you need a full tang knife or a partial tang knife? And some people will say, well, it depends on how hard you're using it and what you're going to use it for. Samurai swords, for the most part, are not full tang. So do you really need a knife that's full tang? Well, if you're going to be beating it with a baton, and you're going to be bushcrafting with it, possibly. But that's just the whole full tang, partial tang, that'll go into argument for decades to come, I promise you. But when a knife manufacturer offers a full tang knife, the guys that want full tang are like, this guy cares. The people that don't care whether it's full tang or partial tang, they don't really care, but they also still respect and appreciate when a manufacturer does offer full tang. Again, there are companies that are going to make product that have partial tang, and I think they're great product. You don't have to have full tang. But I think it's great when a manufacturer does, because it says they're trying to acknowledge everybody's personal little belief system in there. Let's talk about the prototypes over the current version. So I have version 4 and then mass production line version 5. Now this is just a prototype, but the prototype should be no different than what you're going to be getting. The prototypes are amazing, and they're absolutely hands down better than what Jimy Longs can make. Now, first, let me talk about what Jimy Longs did, then we'll go back to the prototypes. I apologize. Jimy Longs created a manufacturing facility out of his shop. And when I say that, I mean that. Like, he has $100,000 invested in manufacturing equipment that was shipped across oceans to be delivered to his house in Utah. And he started out, I think, with like a $5,000 laser, or maybe it was more, but I'm pretty sure he has like a $35,000 laser now. I could be off by a couple grand, but he has a very serious laser for cutting the 301 high yield stainless steel. He showed that this thing can cut up to 2 millimeters thick of material. For instance, if he wanted to make 2 millimeter thick pry bars for top of keyway, he could do that. So, and then he's purchased tumblers. Like, I think he has a $15,000 machine just for tumbling and polishing the tools. And then trying to find the right medium and the right times for tumbling, and the amount of material you put in there is a learning process that he is constantly perfecting. What else is there? The injection molding process. He has custom molds for the injection molding of the handles, and he has made some specifically just for SaintCon at no cost to SaintCon. Like, he just provided tools. To my knowledge, I believe he provided the tools for free. I don't remember if there was any cost out of pocket to SaintCon, but I don't remember anyone complaining. And those injection molds, to my understanding, are like the most expensive component, because every time you make a mold, whether it's right or wrong, like, that's its own cost. And if you want to make another mold, it just keeps growing. And so all in all, everything was about $100,000. And he makes the best lockpicks in the world, in my opinion. These mass production ones are even cleaner. They're even better. So I don't even need to tell you which one is mass production and which one is a Jimy Longs 4th edition. You can clearly see. If we take a look at the sides here, one has a seam, the other one doesn't. If you look at the injection molding process, one has a hole, the other one doesn't. I mean, some of them, I guess, do. Some of them do. I have one here that has a hole. Maybe this is a better example. This is an older version. This is version 3. This is version 4. Let's compare it to version 4. You can still see a difference from version 4 to version 5 here. I mean, just like, some of the holes will have some minor flashing in version 4. Version 5 looks perfect. And that's because the manufacturing facility that he is working with has more money invested in the injection molded process than Jimy does. That's all it is. And that's why you want to go outsource to a manufacturer like that. I just put that back in the wrong spot. I'll have to deal with that later. Sorry. Extreme close-up of Sandman's face. So his version 5 is flawless. It's absolute perfection. I have shown it to professional lockpickers. I've had competitive lockpickers come to my house in preparation for a lockpicking competition, and I brought out my prototypes and I was like, hey, check this out. And they were all like, these are amazing. Like, they could feel a difference, and a little bit difference in weight. They could feel rigidity. These are way stronger. which means the feedback will transmit more into the palm than ever before. I don't want to bend these or break these things, but because they're prototypes. I mean, you have to really go out of your way to bend these things. And the lines where the shank meets the pick are just absolutely flawless. If we take a look at version 3 and version 4, it's a little rough. I mean, who cares if these are rough, because they're great lock picks, but you got to give it to the new manufacturer. Like, it's just more defined, and I just can't wait to see what these look like overall when I get the tools. And look at that. You see how clean that is? I mean, it's clean. These are perfection. So, going back to Jimy Longs and his story, he started producing tools. I'm all over the place with this, I'm sorry. He started producing his tools for his friends and the community, and the demand started growing, started getting messages every day. So he started investing more in his shop and learning from mistakes. One thing that Jimy did that not many other, probably only 1 or 2 other manufacturers have done out of 30, is that Jimy reached out to the best lock pickers across Discord and Reddit and YouTube. And he reached out to them and he said, can I just send you some picks for you to try? And if they fail or if they perform badly, I want you to be brutally honest with me and then send them, let me know what's wrong. And he goes, I'll replace them or whatever. Just, take them, keep them, no cost to you. But I need your critique of them and I need it to be brutally honest. And he did that over a period of at least a year. I want to say 2 years. And he went through 3 different versions, if not 4, based off of that before he came to version 5, which is the mass production run. And I'm talking the best lock pickers in the world. And no, I'm not one of them. He didn't send me tools and ask me for my opinion. I'm not on that council. But there were a couple lockpick manufacturers that were like, how is Jimy so popular right now? And my answer to that would be because not only is Jimy based out of the US, so he's accessible to the North American demographic, and he's making tools to the specifications of the world's greatest lock pickers, and he's taking their feedback and he's constantly evolving it over years. Not just giving them tools and placating them and saying, let me know what you think, and then not listening to their consultation whatsoever, because multiple manufacturers do that. Instead, he was like, okay, he'll get bad feedback on something. And he'd be like, okay, that's a mistake. I think one of the things in the past, like Generation 1 or Generation 2, was that I think, if I remember correctly, the grain of the steel had to be a certain way because it made it very brittle if you applied the leveraging of lockpicking to it. If I remember correctly, I don't remember. And there were issues with the handles. And sometimes he has handles where the color doesn't come out right, or issues like that, or issues with the injection molding process and getting the proper seal and making sure that the lines are clean and everything. But really, the product testing was all about the shank and the tool steel quality and everything like that. So Jimy really did a huge investment, and he really put in a lot of effort trying to learn from the community. Case in point, I'm not going to name names, but there's a manufacturer that produces 301 full hard stainless steel, which is half as strong as 301 high yield, which is what Jimy uses. This manufacturer is based out of the US. They are good people. They're very good people. They have a really great reputation for customer service and for their relationship with people in the community. But they are not respected by the locksport community by and large because their unwillingness to adapt to the community and demographics needs. They've been putting out the same product for over 25 years, and they don't want to grow. And they have changed management, and people thought, hey, maybe this will provide some growth. Nothing other than new profiles. Nothing has come out of it. And I called them one time, and I talked to them over the phone. And I asked them, I said, how come you guys haven't adjusted to making 301 high yield stainless steel products? And they said, where are we going to get it? We can't get it. Everybody using 301 high yield is using China, and we're American, and we make things that are American made and American sourced. And I said, Jimy Longs is making 301 high yield stainless steel tools out of his garage in Utah, and his tools are better than yours, and they're twice as strong. How come you guys can't adopt the same methodology as what he's doing? He's importing the steel from Germany or UK or wherever he's importing the steel from. I don't care where it comes from, as long as the end result is good quality product. And they were just like, well, we can't get it. Tell us where to get it, and we'll get it, blah, blah, blah. That was the end of the conversation. People use 301 full hard because they use dies. All right. They use a machinist die to stamp out tools. And over time, those dies have to be replaced. If you try to use them on too strong of a tool steel, then they have to be replaced quicker. Therefore, the dies are more, they become expensive. Whatever reason, this manufacturer doesn't want to make the investment into a $30,000 laser machine or multiple machines and then find a source for the 301 high yield. And that's fine. They have their own business model. I'm not a businessman, and I'm not a business owner. But what Jimy is doing is on a level that manufacturers are dreaming of right now. Like major manufacturers that have been manufacturing for 25 years. The hype for this, the quality, and everything that's going into it, the research and development alone, even if these were crap tools, if the quality wasn't there, the research and development alone with Christina Palmer and all of the best lockpickers in the world is enough to get me excited. If this company that shall not be named, that's making 301 full hard, were to say, hey, we've reached out to the best lockpickers in the world and we've redesigned our product, I would have been like, shit, let me see it. But they're not going to do that. They don't care. Some manufacturers in this space do not care about locksport. They want to sell to locksport and they want to get influencers in locksport, but they don't give a fuck about our opinion. They want to create a relationship with us because we can help make them more money. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're a business. But a leader that doesn't listen to the members of his team, or a leader that doesn't listen to the gripes and complaints of their employees or their customer base, that's a doomed leader. And that's why some of these companies are feeling a squeeze. I'm just going to name these companies that are feeling a squeeze from the new manufacturers, like Sparrows, Southern Specialties, HPC, Brokage, Southward, Peterson, to name a few. Every single one of those that I just named is American, except for Sparrows. They're North American, they're in Canada. And all of these companies have absolutely refused to evolve with the current demands or needs of the locksport community for at least 10 years. And I don't want to go into the specifics, but I could easily go into specifics. I could easily say this company stopped evolving at this year, and here's why. And this company stopped evolving at this year, and here's why. Because I have all the products, and I've been collecting for so long, and I know the people who do the product testing, and I know the people who used to influence for these companies before they stopped influencing, and I know the reasons why, and blah, blah, blah. But in the last 5 years, we've 5 years, it's 2024 right now. We're 2 months away from 2025. Covert Instruments started in 2020. Jimy Longs started in 2022. I would suspect Moki started around 2023. And in my humble opinion, Covert Instruments, Jimy Longs, and Moki are going to be the top manufacturers in the entire world in 2025, in my opinion. I really do believe that. I love Multipick. Multipick is always going to be in my top 3, if not top 4. It's always going to be up there. And I love Multipick, okay? Multipick has been a friend to me and a huge sponsor. And I have a lot to be grateful for with Multipick. But when you come to my YouTube channel, it says collector of all things locksport since 2007. I'm a collector first. I'm a lockpicker second. And I'm a shill third. Shill comes last. And you cannot tell me, it's going to be hard pressed for you to tell me that there's anything just more beautiful than Moki picks and these amazing high polished 301 high yield stainless steel with their double-ended picks. There's a hidden pick shank on the inside of these right here, so that if you break one, you take the handle off, you cut it, and you flip it around, and now you have a backup lock pick. God bless Moki for doing that. And you cannot tell me how awesome this is. I love Multipick. I love you, Multipick. But the lockpick manufacturers that have come out in the last 3 years learned from the mistakes of the lockpick manufacturers from the last 10 years. Not 20 years. We go back 20 years. We're talking HPC, Brokage, Majestic, all 1095 high carbon tool steel. And a lot of it's all garbage. It was beloved. I started out with HPC in 2007 and used it exclusively until 2010 when I was a locksmith. And then I invested in Peterson back when he had 1095 high carbon. People forget that. And I couldn't afford his government steel. I couldn't spend $100 on 8 lockpicks. I'm so glad I didn't back then too. I'm glad I saved my money for other things. But the companies that have been producing tools from the 80s, Raitan, Lab, the companies that came out of the 90s, Southward, Southern Specialties, the companies that came out of the 2000s, 2007, Sparrows. Peterson started in 1998, I believe, somewhere between 1998 and 2001. I think it was 1998. Those aren't lessons you need to learn from. The lessons that people like Jimy Longs can learn from are from the manufacturers that just stopped giving an F about the community and their customer base around 2015, 2016. For some reason, they just stopped evolving. Sparrow stopped evolving. Peterson stopped evolving. Southward stopped evolving. Southward is making a comeback because they're now providing tools with 301 high yield. They're being competitive. Southern Specialties absolutely stopped evolving. They changed hands 2016 with the new leadership. Their leadership is very wonderful, really nice people. They have not evolved into better tool steels or better design. They have created new profiles, and their customer service is hands down some of the best in the industry. But they have not evolved as a company in 10 years, 25 years. They still sell the old profiles from 25 years ago. The tools that have come out in the last 3 years are last 5 years are putting all of the older manufacturers to sleep. They're putting them to bed. However, my consultation to one of these manufacturers, I'll just say, Jimy, I told Jimy, I was like, here's what's going to happen. You're going to make some of the best tools in the world. And they're going to be highly sought after, highly prized, and you're going to have mass production, and you're going to get with a major distributor, and it's going to be great. I said, but 2 years into it, somebody's going to be watching you, and they're going to figure out what you did right, and they're going to figure out what you did wrong. And 3 years from now, so 5 years into this, so we got 2 more years. This is my consultation to Jimy. I said, 2 more years from now, I said, you're going to have a competitor that's slowly going to build up, and it's going to look like you, sound like you. It's going to feel like your picks. It's going to look everything, but it's going to be different. And it's going to be based off of your mistakes and your successes. And over time, over a year and a half, they will eventually catch up to you. And then after 2 or 3 years, they'll probably start to outsell you. And I said, you have to learn how to pivot. And you have to learn how to make lateral moves. And you have to learn to keep your confirmation bias out of the picture and grow for the needs of the community. And within a couple months, he reached out to me and he goes, dude, you're right. It's already happening. I was like, yep, told you. And so Jimy Longs is up and coming, and he's going to be one of the biggest manufacturers in the history of lockpick manufacturing. As it goes back to, as far as I know, HPC started in 1954. It was either in Ohio or Indiana. In 2017, they were acquired by Hudson Lock Company. And I think that's Hudson Bay, Massachusetts, but I could be wrong. Who cares? They suck. But lockpicks have been available in North America since 1954. The best lockpicks in the time frame have come out in the last 3 years. Now you could say, well, every year we should have new innovation and new tools that are going to come out. From 2015 to 2020, we didn't. We just had gimmicks from companies. And I love gimmicks. I love collecting things. I absolutely love gimmicks. I really do. I think it's cool because you guys don't know this, and I'm going to have a video about this sometime, but 15 years ago, it was hard to get lockpicks. You had to know somebody that was a locksmith, or you had to know a website that was open to selling tools to complete strangers. They would have red tape all over the website, and they'd have this red tape at the checkout saying you have to show proof of ID and credentials and licensing and tax identification number, but the order would still go through, whether you provided that or not. Those were little tips and tricks that we knew in locksport going back to 2010. When I was in Iraq in 2007, my second deployment to Iraq, I ordered my first HBC lockpick set from Brokage, which is lockpicks.com, based out of Florida. And I used my government CAC card, my CAC card, to be able to order that. So I don't know. I will talk to people. Locksport's funny. This whole video is a rant, so who cares? I will talk to people, and I'll meet people, especially people that are younger than me. I've met some people older than me, but I met a guy who's like 10 years younger than me. And he goes, when did you start picking locks? I was like, 2007. He goes, oh, I started in the early 2000s. Like, you did? And he's like, yeah. He's like, probably around 2000, 2001 time frame. And this guy's like 10 years younger than me. So, and I was like, cool, man. Like, okay, you're 5 years old. Got it. Okay, that's fine. It's not unheard of. Jimy started at 8 years old. And I said, where'd you get your tools? And he goes, I just bought them online. Okay. So you're 5 years old and you're just perusing the internet and you found a vendor to give you lockpicks online. Makes sense. And I said, so what tools you have? And he showed me, and they were Clom. I was like, oh, okay, well, you're just completely full of shit. I'm not an expert on Clom or Gozo, and I don't know how far back they were available to the general public and at what point they became available online. I know these things about other manufacturers, but I don't know these things about Clom or Gozo. But I can tell you right now, the guy was just full of shit, and he didn't know how to pick a lock, and he didn't know what tools he had. He had a lot of automotive Clom tools, or K-Lom, or whatever people call them. Clom tools, like 50% of their tool line is like for automotive, Chinese locks type stuff, automotive locks. And he was like showing me this lock. I'm like, dude, that's for a double-sided automotive wafer lock. Like, just stop. I mean, it happens all the time. I went to a locksport meetup, and this guy, God bless him, nice guy, but he likes to one-up and he likes to fib. And he sits down and he brought some like Sparrow's everyday carry pocket picks for going to a locksport meetup, which is cool for a conversation piece. But at a Locksport meetup, you want to take your best tools because there's a quiet dick measuring going on as to who may be the best and this and that. Like, it's not competitive, but there are a couple individuals like me who show up and I want to pick all the locks on the table within an hour and then have somebody take a picture of me with all 80 to 100 locks that I picked. And then I can chill out for the next hour and tell Locksport stories, and then I leave. Some people think it's fun that I do that. Some people think it's annoying that I do that. I think that's just how I enjoy Locksport meetups. I like to go, oh, you brought locks? Let me pick them all. I pick them all, and I line them all up, and then I take my picture with them, and I post it to social media because that's how I enjoy Locksport meetups. I don't drink beer. I don't drink alcohol, so I'm not there to drink. I'm here to pick locks and learn and talk. And if I don't have something to learn from you, I'm going to pick all the locks, and maybe you might be willing to learn from me. It is what it is. This gentleman showed up to a Locksport meetup that I was actually hosting, and he brought these mace picks from Sparrows, these little pocket everyday carry picks. And he's like, when did you start picking locks? 2007. And he goes, yeah, I started back in the 90s. And I have friends that are still alive today, still pick locks today, that started picking in the 80s and the 90s. And I said, where'd you get them? He goes, I bought them online. Oh, okay, whatever. Meanwhile, he's using Sparrows, like everyday carry picks. Like, he doesn't have a full-size lock pick in his collection. And I didn't see him pick a lock. Sometimes these people will spend 2 hours picking one lock, and it's like a master lock or an American lock. Back in the 80s and the 90s, you could get lock picks through like Mall Ninja catalogs, like Soldier of Fortune magazine. The back of the magazine had Arnold's Gun Room, and Arnold's Gun Room was a distributor of, I suspect, guns, but also just like brass knuckles and sap hats, like a hat that has like built-in like metal shot in it so you could hit somebody over the head. It's just stupid stuff. Stupid. Like, like the gloves with like a taser built into the glove so you punch somebody and it shocks them. Butterfly combs, but also butterfly knives. Just stuff like that. And not butterfly combs, but like the switchblade combs. Just dumb stuff. But he also sold lockpicks, and I believe they were Majestic lockpicks. I could be wrong. I have a buddy that still has his very first lockpick set from 1988. And I believe it was Majestic, and I believe he purchased them from Arnold's Gun Room. But, where people get their tools based off of timelines is always funny. Like, I had somebody tell me, he's like, oh yeah, I got an argument with somebody about Sparrows, and Sparrows started in 2007. But I remember when Sparrows became like available to the public with their tuxedo set. No, they had the tuxedo set that didn't have dipped handles from 2007 2010. But 2010 they were advertising very hard on keypicking.com. 2011 they're advertising on keypicking.com that they were going to have dipped handles. And I remember in 2011 when they released their tools, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is like the big reveal. Like, you guys took your picks and dipped them in Plasti Dip. Like, this is your handle design. And I was like, and they were like, this is just the first stage. Like, we're going to do more. No, nothing changed in 15 years. So I remember when they first came out with their dipped handles and they're advertising on Key Picking and LP 101. I was in the police academy in 2011. And I remember being excited for it. And then 3 months later, that summer being let down. So timelines matter when it comes to what people are saying. How does that relate to Jimy Longs? It doesn't. Sorry. But I'm excited about what Jimy Longs do. Jimy Longs and the manufacturers, Covert Instruments and Moki, are putting out the best products I've ever seen. And it's going to be amazing. I want to put out a video. It's like my top 3 or my top 4. I could put out a video right now saying my top 3. My top 3 right now are Jimy Longs, Moki, Multipick. That order. I love Multipick. Sorry. You have my number 3 spot right now until you get a Jim hook. A Peterson Jim style pick that I can use. I use primarily, because it's subjective to me, the profiles. I prefer a Jim style hook that I use 99% of the time. A flat hook, the other 1%. However, I think nobody beats Multipick in their tensioners. I don't think anybody beats Multipick in their profile selection. They have over 107 different profiles. Nobody beats Multipick in their locksmith tools. Nobody beats Multipick in their dimple locks. They're my number one, absolutely, hands down. If I were to pick a favorite company, it would be Multipick. Multipick's my number one favorite company, period, hands down. My favorite lock picks to use on a regular day-to-day basis are Jimy Longs and Moki, followed by Multipick. I use Multipick tensioners with Jimy Longs tools. I'm not the biggest fan of Jimy Longs tensioners. I'm looking forward to seeing what the mass production will give us, but Multipick has a better variety, and they have marking on them etched, you know, for what the tool is and how thick it is. I like having that because my eyes are getting old and I want to be able to just read something instead of like trying to measure with my eye 10,000ths of an inch. So I like Multipick. I love all of their products. I think Multipick's the greatest company in the world right now. I think some companies are catching up, but I think Multipick's the greatest, hands down. Multipick is the greatest company in the world. But I think Jimy Longs and Moki are making superior lock picks right now with handles, different tool steel, a different polish, and with profiles that are very popular right now with the community. However, Multipick has those profiles. They're just lacking the one profile, and I'm just a jerk and an asshole for needing that one profile. Trust me, I spent a year trying to utilize a rounded hook and a flat hook to make my way from white to black belt, and I was like, I can't do this. I need a gym hook. I want to make a video based off of my top 3, but I don't want to be disrespectful to Covert Instruments because they're going to put out these Apex tools, and they're going to be fucking fantastic. They're going to be amazing. And I want to be respectful and let them put those tools out before I come out and say what my favorite tools are. I have the prototypes, but the prototypes are not even in the same ballpark of quality of what is going to be the end product. And I can't show you guys the prototypes of those. I have an NDA with Covert Instruments that I signed when I went out to their manufacturing facility back in April. I don't have an NDA with Multipick or with Jimy Longs or with Moki. So if I have a prototype of their products, I guess it's up to me if I'm willing to show you guys. Covert Instruments is going to have some of the best lock picks the world has ever seen. It's innovative, it's exciting, it's aesthetically pleasing, it's artistic, it's functional, it's going to be fantastic, and I can't wait. But I've been waiting since September of 2023, ever since I saw a prototype, and then I've been waiting since April, since I was able to get a prototype in my hand and give a consultation on the prototype. Whether they even read my consultation or not, I don't know. But I want to put out a video of my top 4 brands. It's going to be Jimy Longs, Moki, Multipick, Covert Instruments. The order is subjective to me. But if I were to make a top 5, Lock tools would be number 5. If I could recommend anything to you guys, it would be to put your money in those top 5 and then figure out what you like best. Some people love Moki over Jimy Longs. Some people love Multipick over Moki. Some people love Covert Instruments. The current Covert Instrument line is probably going to be forgotten about a year from now. I mean, it's going to be like your Squires of Fender American Stratocasters. It'll have its place for people that want to scratch that itch. I still think the absolute best lockpick set money can buy, hands down right now, before Jimy Longs puts out whatever he's going to put out, is the FNG, the freaking new guy from Covert Instruments. And it's like $12.50. You get 2 tools, you get a turning tool, and you get a acrylic lock that you can pick immediately. And I have given that consultation to Multipick, and I've given that consultation to Jimy Longs. I've tried to give it to other manufacturers that I won't name. And I said, you guys are making a mistake by not looking at the benefit of a minimalist set and making it most affordable overall. Multipick listened to me, and they came out with the starter set, which has 3 tools. On my consultation, the Sandman starter set has a Bogota instead of the quad or quint peak, whatever comes with the FNG. Let's see. I have the FNG. The picks are not in the... whatever comes with the F&G. I prefer a Bogota. I think it has a higher probability success rate. And they went with a flat hook in the Bogota, and they went with the 1mm turning tool, which is basically close to 40 thou. And I think it's a great set, starter set. If I were to say that, I don't think they made a mistake adding the leather case to the set, but it did double in price because of it. That wasn't my consultation. I think you have to be willing to just give people tools at like $5 and just say, here, $8, $9, the set's yours without the leather case, because the F&G doesn't come with a leather case. The F&G doesn't come with a Genesis case. What is that called? It's not the Garrison. Is it the Garrison? Yeah. I know it's not the Garrison. It's something else. Whatever. What is it? 9 in the morning? You got to make things affordable for people. And so my consultation for Jimy Longs, I was like, you need to offer a starter set. You've got to see what's successful, and you got to create a starter set, you know, not just have a beginner intermediate set or an advanced set. You need a starter set, something that's the absolute most affordable that people can just dip their toes in the water. So that's good that he's going to do that. But Covert Instruments is doing a smashing job. I promise you, all my stories come back to a full circle here. Covert Instruments is doing a great job. But the tool line with the laminated popsicle stick style handles will be forgotten in time due to the popularity of the Apex. I think they will always have its place. I think they'll always have the F&G. I think they will always have the Genesis pick set. I don't think there would be a need for the Echelon pick set at $75. I think they will greatly, in my opinion, I think they would benefit from discounting that to $50, and then focusing on providing the Apex tool line between the $50 to $100 range, somewhere there. I have no idea. I have to be careful what I say because they've never given me any of this information. But if in case some of my information is correct, I would hate for them to say, well, we said this one thing to you. And I'm like, I don't remember that you said that. And I haven't talked to you in, you know, so many weeks or months or whatever. Like, I haven't been to your facility in 6 months. I didn't know. This is speculation. So I would speculate that while the Covert Instruments tool line is fantastic and it's really great quality and it's very popular, it doesn't hold a candle to the Apex tool line. And I think that they're going to focus on the Apex tool line. And I think that's what people are going to want. But there's always going to be the average person who's like, I just wanted to buy something for my dad. I wanted to buy a cheap set of tools for my dad, you know, or for Father's Day. I wanted to buy something for my nephew for his 13th birthday or whatever, you know. I wanted something for my boyfriend, or I wanted something for my girlfriend or my wife or whatever. And I think the F&G is perfect for that. Like it's so amazing. It's just the simplicity of it at that price and the high quality tool steel. It's so funny to see other manufacturers like Sparrows and Southern Specialties and Southward not get that. like really, your cheapest set of tools is like $30 or $22. Cheapest set of tools, I believe, from Southward is like $22. They sent it to me for review. I had some brief communication with Southward, based out of Florida. And I was like, you know, if you send me some 301 high yield stainless steel tools, I'd love to get my hands on them. But those were like $200 tool sets. And I said, you know, what, you know, like send me those and send me like a starter set so I could, you know, try them. They were like, we'll send you the starter set. And I got it, and it's garbage. I'm not going to review it. I'm trying not to give bad reviews just for giving bad reviews. If I don't review something by this point out of 215 videos, you should know that I probably don't like it. I did have a good 6 months there where I was giving bad reviews on products because I was being honest. And I know that you guys appreciate that honesty, but there's more tactful ways of going about it. And I can tell you right now, I wouldn't waste my money on Southward. I don't have the 301 high yield picks in my collection. I probably will never buy them. I mean, I'd have to like win the lottery for me. Like, all right, I'm going to buy some picks I'm never going to use, like $200 worth, put them on the shelf. I'm not going to do that. But their $22 tool set is garbage. Covert Instruments F&G is amazing. But Covert Instruments, when they release this Apex tool line, oh man, that's going to be even better. Yeah. That's it. I don't have anything else to say. This whole thing was like, you need to buy Jimy Longs. Oh, man. Yeah. I remember I was like, all right, I'm about 13 minutes into this. I need to start getting to the point that you guys should buy Jimy Longs before they sell out. Buy them or not, I don't care. If you made it this far into the video and you're like, I'm not buying Jimy Longs, that's fine. Don't complain to me when they sell out after a week, because that's my consultation. I think they're going to sell out in a week. That was the whole point of the video. I should have put that in the beginning of the video. Maybe I can splice this and put that in the video. But Jimy Longs, my consultation is Jimy Longs. My speculation, my advice, my belief is that Jimy Longs is going to sell out in a week. He has 1,000 units of each set. And he has spent the last month trying to organize the sets because the manufacturer sent them to him jumbled up. And he has to organize everything. And when you put in your order, there may be a couple day delay in shipping because he has to prep all the orders and put everything in mailers and get everything out to you. Demand's going to be very high. But if you don't jump on this Jimy Longs when they become available on Friday, my next speculation is 3 to 5 months before we see his product again. So that's what that is. I'm sure I said some things that I will regret. When you talk for an hour, that's what happens. I hope people don't hold that against me. I'm sorry. I'm just being me, and I'm showing my enthusiasm and my knowledge and experience for what I've been passionate about for going on 18 years now. So it's crazy that I'm saying 18 years. Like, I feel like last year I was saying 15 years, but it was 17 years. I think my math was just off, but been picking since 2007. I wasn't involved in the locksport community until 2010 because I was picking as a skill set to be a better Marine. And because as a Marine, I never saw shooting as a competitive sport. As a Marine artilleryman and a combat MOS and a Iraq War veteran, I saw shooting skill as a survival skill, and it's a way of life. Like, this is my rifle, there are many like it, but this one is mine. And a lockpick set to me was another skill to put in my toolbox that I could deploy, and I used it a lot. And someday we'll go into the stories of that, but it has to be the right time for that. And I wasn't anything special. I wasn't sneaking around doing crazy stuff, but I was sneaking around doing crazy stuff that nobody should be doing. It wasn't for the benefit of war, it was for the benefit of quality of life. But we'll talk about that another time. But I started picking locks on a serious level 2007, and I didn't stop, and I always kept it up till 2010, till I walked into a locksmith shop and was looking to buy locks to pick. And they're like, what are you looking for? I was like, I'm just looking for this and this lock. Well, what are you putting it on? I was like, I'm just buying it to buy it. Like, what do you mean? I was like, I collect locks. Like, you collect locks? Yeah, I like to collect locks and I like to pick them. They're like, why don't you be a locksmith? And I was like, well, never thought about it. And they hired me on the spot. So, but then the frustration of being a locksmith and being a lockpicker started to collide. And they were accusing me of things that weren't true. They're like, well, why are you trying to pick this lock? You don't need to pick this lock. We don't pick these locks. We just drill these locks. I was trying to pick a Medico, and I had picked it up to 4 pins. I was progressively pinning a Medico in 2010. And I picked up the 4 pins, and I was working on that 5th pin. And I didn't pick a Medico until like last year, 2023, but 5 pins. But I picked it up to 4 pins. And they're like, why are you doing this? And I was like, I just want to be a great lock picker. And they were like, you just want to be a thief. Literally, my manager called me a thief. And so there was a locksmith on YouTube by the name of Kokomo Lock, who had his own locksmith shop in Kokomo, Indiana. And he was a YouTuber who could pick multi-lock and Medico locks. And before the belt system and all this other stuff. And I reached out to him in a message like, hey man, I was like, these people treat me like this, like, what should I do? And he's like, give me your number. So I gave him my number, and he called me, and we talked for like an hour, and he goes, you're a lock sporter. I was like, what's that? He goes, you pick locks for competition, for fun, for difficulty, for relaxation, whatever. And he goes, locksmiths don't do that. And I was like, really? I was like, I didn't know. And he goes, yeah. He goes, they'll always look at you in a different light because of that. I was like, oh. So that's when I got into locksport, 2010. I'm a collector of all things locksport because I was collecting all this stuff since 2007, not knowing there was a community for it. I remember creating an account in 2007, 2008 when I came back from Iraq, probably 2008. When I came back from Iraq on Lockpicking 101, but I hated that website. The graphical user interface was terrible. Like the whole website navigation was terrible. Is it correct to say GUI for a website? But I don't know. But that website navigation was absolutely terrible, and I hated how bright it was. When I got in touch with Kokomo Lock, he's like, you need to go to keypicking.com because that's where he was. And I went to keypicking.com, and it was dark, and it was easier on the eyes. You could spend 4 hours reading on that, how to pick high security locks and stuff, and it didn't hurt your eyes. And I liked the people in there, and I liked that they had a live chat going on at all times on the website. You didn't have to go to a whatever RC, whatever it was called, that LP 101 had. That was dead. So that's why I went to Keypicking, but I don't remember why I went into this tangent, but I can tell you right now, since 2007, these are the best tools. I better end this video right now. I have no idea what I'm even talking about. I'm just ranting and raving. I've been stuck in my house for 4 months due to health reasons, and it's hard for me to make videos, and it's hard for me to pick locks on video. That's why I'm doing more talking, because of these health issues. But I'm getting better. I'm doing acupuncture now for my nervous system. My parasympathetic nervous system is out of whack. It's not kicking in when it should be. I go into fight or flight at awkward times, like at a stop sign or a stoplight, because I almost passed out at a stoplight a couple months back when I had the physical health issues from my allergy shot. And so I'm going to acupuncture to try to reset my parasympathetic nervous system, try to get me relaxed. And then I'm also meditating 30 minutes every day, almost every day. I'm going to a Buddhist temple to go meditate. So if you guys are like, he's not meditating 30 minutes. No, like I literally go to a Buddhist temple 5 minutes away, and I sit down and I meditate for 25, 30 minutes at a time, as often as I can. And I've picked up doing Tai Chi again. I used to do Tai Chi a lot for a couple years back. I used to do a lot of different stuff with Tai Chi, and I've picked that up again. So I'm trying to reset my nervous system, because the physical issues that I had from my shot and my health issues are slowly subsiding, but I still have a lot of hang-ups with my nervous system and my mental acuities there. So I'm trying to work on that. Anyways, all I do is rant and rave now, and if you've made it this far, send me an abracadabra in the comments, and I'll know that you're my best friend, and I might send you something. Just kidding, I'm sending you nothing. You're gonna have to buy everything on your own, just like me, or make friends with people, because I'm just a businessman blessed with many friends, and I'm not rich, I'm irresponsible. So that's all I have for today, folks. Buy Jimy Longs, get on this, and if you don't, you will regret it. You'll be like, oh, I should have. I told you. I spent an hour telling you, and then I just went on tangents. Ugh. Why are you still here? Go to your wife. Your wife and kids are like, what are you watching, Dad? Okay, that's all I have for today, folks. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you going to buy Jimy Longs? Let me know in the comments down below, abracadabra, if you made it this far. Some of you are skipping through this stuff. I know. There's no way that some of you guys are watching a full hour and 3 minutes of me just diatribe. But God bless you if you did. I don't know why you do it. That's all I have for today, folks. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys next time.